Okay, so let's backtrack a little bit and we'll talk about 1800, which is a big year because Jefferson is elected president after a really kind of crazy election. Remember, it's him versus Burr. Hamilton sides with Jefferson. Burr kills Hamilton in the duel. The Federalists go away because Hamilton went after Adams. So like our country's really in a really weird spot. And Jefferson brings a lot of people together. Remember we talked about him uniting the political parties, but he's got a lot of stuff. He's got to get America back on track. It had been a crazy couple of years, back and forth between France and Britain, who's our enemy, who's not. And he deals with a lot of other stuff, which we're kind of not going to get into, but a really good opportunity pops up because we'll put him in red. Now, Napoleon, who's the Emperor of France, remember, he's at war with England. And remember, the French and Jefferson always had a pretty good relationship. So once Jefferson comes back into office, Napoleon's willing to open up those doors and talk to America again. Remember, there wasn't a lot of trust with Adams. The French didn't really trust Adams. He's a Federalist. The Federalists usually sided with England. So there wasn't a good bond there. Jefferson comes in. Now Napoleon thinks, all right, well, where can I go from here? Now, if he's fighting a war in Europe, he can't deal with that, and he also can't maintain this territory, which France owns, at the same time. It's across the world. There's just too many problems. So his offer to Jefferson is, well, why don't you buy it? Originally, Jefferson just wanted this small little town of New Orleans down here because it would be a really good shipping area. It's on the water. It kind of opens up materials to go into the Midwest. Because remember, America at this point only had this territory. So Jefferson said, you know what, I just really want to buy New Orleans. I need that town. Napoleon said, you know what, why don't you just buy the whole thing? And for $15 million, even in back then money, it was a steal. So that doubles the size of America. So we went from basically, this to that. So that was a huge advantage. It's going to bring us in big money. That's all farmland down in the middle. Gives us more space. So the conflicts with Native Americans up in this area over here, that gives us a lot of opportunity there. And it's a really good first step for Jefferson. And there's other stuff that happened before, but this was his, of course, pinnacle. That's what he's kind of known for. And the funny thing is, the question came up is this even constitutional? Because what he did buying Louisiana was basically the same thing Hamilton did with the bank. The bank was kind of technically illegal. Buying Louisiana was technically illegal. So he's a little bit kind of hypocritical when he does this. But, he says it's in the best interest of America, and he goes through with it. So then, of course, he needs someone to explore it, which then when we talked about Lewis and Clark, which we did kind of quick, remember, their goal is basically to explore the area, find out about the natural part of it, what animals are there, what's, how can we survive, what's the terrain like, can we grow stuff, can we farm, all that stuff. And then, of course, also the second part is, the natives. Are they friendly? Are they going to accept us? Are they going to be, are they going to be pushing back? Are they going to be aggressive? And Sacagawea was which, by the way, you can spell Sacagawea with a J or a G. But remember, she's an interpreter and also like a guide. And I know my handwriting, this is terrible, and I promise I will work on it. So Sacagawea is big because not only is she going to work with the interpretation side and communication side with Native Americans, but also at the same time, she's going to guide them through Louisiana and kind of help them map make everything. Because if people are going to settle in Louisiana, we have to know where we're going. So that part of the Louisiana Purchase and the follow-up and the exploring was obviously huge. Now, this was the drawing where I said we can really look at Manifest Destiny in one drawing. And, let's go back. So to highlight, a couple things. Remember, the whole point was we're going to go from coast to coast, right? So that's our destiny. This is the East Coast, and that's the West Coast. So now that Lewis and Clark has planned it out, they've mapped it out, we kind of know where we're going. We know kind of what's out there, although it's, not 100%, but we have an idea of what we're going to run into. Everything that kind of falls in is right in this picture. Now, if you're going to travel across the country, if you notice about the picture, it's kind of light over on this side, right? And it's kind of dark over here. So the light is basically the known, right? And this is the unknown, because you know what's here. You're living here. Okay, this is basically the starting point. This is the Independence, Missouri. That's your Mississippi River. That's where America basically ended. This is the new stuff. Oh. Right, so this is where you've been living. That's the new stuff. And if you're going to go into an unknown area, you're going to be kind of scared. Well, what's going to help you and protect you along this journey? Okay, obviously God, right? There's the Bible. God is going to protect you. Now, this lady here is someone you've probably seen. If you've ever seen Columbia pictures, she's holding a torch. There's a couple different ladies that America has. The most famous one you guys know is Lady Liberty. So this is Lady Columbia, named after Columbus, which is kind of the exploratory, part of it. And so she's holding the Bible in one hand, which shows the religious side. But then there's a lot of other things going on here. Like there's the technology. Notice she's holding a wire in her hand. Okay, that's for Morse code. That's for communication. So when you travel, you're going to be able to communicate from coast to coast. So there's a rise of technology. Then you'll see the trains. And if you notice, there's kind of tracks here, but not here. So as we're moving out west, we're going to kind of bring this technology out west with us. Build the railroads, build up communication, all that stuff. See, here's how people got out west. There was your wagon that held 1,000 pounds. There's your ox there. Down at the bottom over here, okay, you see all the different farmers. Because once you get to Oregon, that's kind of what you're doing. So the scenes down here is kind of the once you get there. There's the farmhouse. There's, people developing their farms. So that would be once you would get there. Then you also have the Native Americans over here. Notice how they're running away. So they're looking over their shoulder, and it kind of looks like they're being chased, right? Because as we move out west, we're pushing them out of the way. We're moving them to another area. The buffalo over here, which is their whole lifeline, is also running away. If those buffalo die out, the Native Americans die out. That is their entire lifeline. So just in real short, it's showing you a bunch of different things. The scary terrain. Okay, there's the Rocky Mountains over here, right? You have to cross those Rocky Mountains to get out to Oregon. It's pretty scary. But now the problem is, once you get there, you didn't actually own it. So if you kind of go back to this map real quick, this area of Oregon, we only own this. We didn't own this. And if you really want to get from ocean to ocean, you need this. And ironically, the people that we had to deal with was England, because this whole area is kind of disputed. America claims it, England claims it, I think even Russia claimed it, at one point. So the treaty is pretty simple. England doesn't want to fight over this. It's not a big deal. They have their own issues with France going on. So we basically just kind of drew a line. Of course, the Americans wanted the line all the way up here. The British wanted the line all the way down here. So we had to kind of settle into the middle. So we basically just split it. So England would be at the top, right? So that's basically the border, right? Canada's up here. And then this area would be for the United States. So owning this area, now we can complete Manifest Destiny. Now, instead of stopping here at the Missouri River, okay, you can actually get all the way to the end. So when you did your Oregon Trail, this Columbia River that you were sailing down, you had to avoid the rocks and all that. That was kind of your last line that would get you right to the ocean. So the treaty is not a big deal. And, if you look in the history books, it's not something you're going to make a big deal out of. But it is kind of important because that gets you from coast to coast. And then this part we're going to pick up on